Well, today was probably the calmest day in the house so far, and thank God for that. Night six wasn't the most eventful, but there was still some important pieces of the puzzle coming together. Um, to start, I kind of want to just actually go over the very few people that aren't on my nerves. There are just a few that might actually be, trying to play individual games against all these sheep that are just trying to do the usual big ass alliance steamroll. One of those people, of course, is Tiffany. I've already said so many good things about Tiffany. I can't say enough good things about Tiffany. She has the best social game in the house. She probably has the best read on the house overall, I would say. And she's just super smart at this game. I love all of her little things she does. Like, I didn't talk about this yesterday, but she was reading the Bible along with Brittany and Ozza as a way to, if anybody walked in the room, that just looks like they're reading the Bible, which was also pretty funny. But Tiffany's still great. And also got to talk about Pisces King, Derek X. Finally, a player on one of these seasons goes against the HOH wishes so early. Yesterday, Frenchie, don't even like saying his fucking name, honestly, but he was trying to get Derek X to not use the veto. That was the final plan of Frenchie's in hopes of Kai going home against Alyssa. And that psychopath, after all of his horribleness yesterday, where he went from fake woke performative shit to tons of microaggressions to just straight up racism in a matter of hours. He also kept Derek X up all night to still try to get him to use the veto until like 5 in the morning or later. He laid in bed with him when Derek X was trying to go to bed. But Derek X stood strong in his convictions and still used that veto on Kai. And I just want to, I'm going to get a little astrology here and talk about Pisces. I know we Pisces get a bad rap for being emotional or being delusional, but Pisces are very good at seeing things, using our intuition, and calling out bullshit when we see it, standing our ground very well. I think Pisces are very underrated at some of these things. And Derek X was the only person in that room when the microaggressions are flying at Kai to step in after to defend Kai, first of all, at times and during that conversation. And then afterwards, tell them that Kai has this. I don't remember what it's called, but it's a thing. This is why he is not always the best talker and rambles sometimes. So I'm just glad someone in this house was able to do that. And I'll get to Kai in a while, though. I mean, I have plenty of gripes with Kai in this game, but obviously the microaggressions from the fucking idiots was too much. Now, Derek X still has a weak point because he's still the biggest target in the house. Going forward, it seems like almost everybody wants to put him on the block in this next round. So he's still going to be fighting for his life. And that is because he is the one person with the balls to go against the grain so far. And the way things are going, he might be one of the only ones. He does need to step up his social game, though. He does not talk to the right people. He has not talked to Azza since prior to winning the veto, and she does spend a lot of time in her room, which is bad. But she talked to him a lot before veto when he was down, so he really needs to start talking to Azza before the next HOH, just in case she's HOH. Sarah and Kai talked, and they gave up each other's alliance earlier in the day. A second girls' alliance was formed between, well, Tiffany and Claire wanted to make a new alliance with Sarah. She already ratted that out to Kai hours later. But Kai ratted out that big ass stupid slaughterhouse alliance as well as the Butcher's Mill alliance to Sarah. What she's exactly going to do with this information should be interesting, but what has worried me and is still why I'm not super high on Sarah is even after learning that there's this 8-person alliance in the house, which she should know might try and steamroll, she's still hung up about Derek X, the one person on the bottom, and still thinks that he needs to go on the block. And I just don't see the disconnect between some of these house guests. This next HOH is really going to determine if it's going to be a sheep game. Azza, I'm going to get to astrology again. Sorry if you don't like astrology, but that's what I'm getting into tonight. Is that Azza is a Sagittarius, and she just can't help but speak her mind sometimes. And she throws some of the best shade at that hick that's the HOH. And I love that for her. She also has, despite being in a room a lot, she has a good enough read on the house to know that Brent needs to go. She can't go after Frenchie, or she probably would because they're on the same team. However, because of Azza not really doing as much of a social game these past 2 days as she needs to, she thinks that she could put Derek X up as a pawn if she wins the next HOH against Brent. Not realize I don't understand how she thinks Derek X could be a good pawn when most of the house want to put him up and vote him out. She needs to really hopefully work on that. She had a conversation with Tiffany tonight, and they tried to talk through that. But it seems like she was doing more convincing of Tiffany than Tiffany was to her, unfortunately, on the Derek X situation. Although I don't think Tiffany would put Derek X on the block. But then there's Claire. She's the last one that has at least some brains in this house compared to the other 11 people that I haven't named. I just like Claire because she does notice a lot of things. She's always plotting. She's another one that's just not aggressive enough in her gameplay that I would like her to be, because some of these women are on the outs. There is that big alliance. As many problems as that alliance has, it still has the numbers to possibly steamroll, depending on who wins the next HOH. So Claire needs to start really having more conversations with her thoughts to her closer allies in these women alliances. Now let me rip some of these other players apart because they are either weak or have zero brain capacity. The men, especially in this house, are just so weak, so ready to do the usual male alliance, pull in a few women, run the house, steamroll. We've seen it a lot on this shitty show because they have. I've said so many times on this channel how this game of Big Brother in the US is broken. And if this big slaughterhouse alliance, despite being so messed up, despite Frenchie breaking his word to almost everybody in this alliance, and everybody's still wanting to work with Frenchie in this alliance, if a season like this can still have a big alliance after this terrible first week of an HOH, we have to admit to ourselves that the game is done. It's done if this is another steamroll season. You got players in this house like Derek F, who I really want to start calling Derek GTFO because I really want him to get the fuck out. He is so far up Frenchie's ass because they have that final two, even though he knows Frenchie tried to make a final two with someone else. And Frenchie has even yet another final two with someone else. He's still up Frenchie's ass, always protecting him, always trying to stick up for him. And this is all because I think he honestly has a crush on fucking Frenchie, of all people. Like, what? And I'm just really not getting this crush on Frenchie at all. But I just feel like Derek F is, well, first of all, he's fake as fuck. I think I really would think people would start seeing how fake he is, but they can't even see how fake Frenchie is. So how are they going to see how fake Derek F is? And Derek F was trying to come up with this hinky vote plan today, and this vote with Travis and Claire, and all that shit. He is on my nerves a lot. He called Frenchie Big Daddy Frenchie today. It's sick. Like he really has this crush on this old hick racist. I'm starting to think that Derek F was the boxer in the family and has brain damage. That might be the case with this whole situation with him and Frenchie. It's weird. But yeah, mostly the guys are the ones getting on my nerves, other than Alyssa. Really want Alyssa to go. I'm really hoping that there's some waffling that happens in one of these next two nights before the vote. And Travis ends up staying because that would crumble this stupid Slaughterhouse Alliance quickly and we don't have to deal with it. So that is definitely best case scenario, I think. At least I hope. It could be. There's other possibilities of being bad if Travis ends up staying, but I also don't know if Travis can get the votes. He's taken his time. I feel like he wants to try and maybe blow it up at the last minute, but he needs to start working before that if he really has a shot at getting the votes in the end. But if Grodner happens to do one of her usual bullshit and try and sway a vote a certain way, and Alyssa ends up going home, well, you kind of deserve it, sweetie. Sorry. Because Alyssa is really going to think she's going to come in here and play a Nicole Franzel type game, flirt with all the guys, target the girls. I see people on Twitter trying to call her Parvati, but Parvati worked with the girls, targeted the guys. It's very different. But even Nicole Franzel, who we all hate her, let's be real, but she was still a smart player, whether we like it or not, and she was a savage player, whether we like it or not. And I just don't feel like Alyssa has the ability to stay on a smart path playing the Nicole Franzel game. I just feel like she's going to be the woman that plays at the bottom of a male alliance and then gets cut at final fucking 6 or 7. She'd basically be a less boring version of Tina from BB Can 9, in my opinion. Lastly, I'll talk about Kyland. He's such a mess. He's such a cancer. He's emotional and he's talks too much. I do like that he ratted out the slaughterhouse to Sarah, and he did not rat out the cookout to Sarah. I like the Sarah Kyland secret duo a lot. It's a very interesting part of the game. We'll see what comes from that conversation. I'm definitely recording this early tonight since I had to stay up so late last night and had to record twice because it was so ridiculous and Frenchie's bullshit. So if anything happens late tonight, I ain't gonna see it. But I can't get a read on what Kylan is really trying to do. He's always so all over the place. He still seems to feel like Frenchie is playing a great game. And I'm like, what? Who are you people? What are you seeing in this house? Can't they not see that when Frenchie's doing something, everybody's fucking miserable? The whole house is miserable. And then when they're away from Frenchie, everything is so calm and they could talk game or they could have fun. I just know Frenchie's going to be the one to start the waffling in the vote. Somehow, something's going to happen. He's going to see Alyssa hugging up on Kylan or hugging up on Xavier, hugging up on pick another dude, and he's going to be like, she needs to go. And then the waffling is going to start, and everybody's going to feel miserable. It's also kind of gross because Frenchie was trying to be all up on Alyssa tonight, too. Yeah. But I just wish Kylan would calm down, and I really hope he's not actually planning to put up Derek X if he wins the HOH. The dude that just saved your ass with the veto after you're the one that kind of started the ball rolling to get him being a target to Frenchie in the first place. So Kai, I hope, just sits down and starts to think better because his read, he has one of the worst reads in the house. Frankly, cancers are the weak link of water signs. Pisces, Derek X, doing great. Well, he's not doing great either. He's a fucking target, but at least he has balls. But I really am starting to hate how it's becoming the herd mentality BBUS game like it is every season. Let's start a big alliance, follow the leader. Nobody wants to take big moves. Nobody wants to take risks except for the 5 people I named earlier: Tiffany, Derek X, Sarah, Azza, and Claire. And I love Hannah. I feel like if anybody's seen any of the games on my channel, and if you haven't, there's a lot of new people watching these videos. So go back and watch Online Survival 2 or the Online Battle. There's a player named Q. Hannah reminds me of her because they're both very smart. They're both very calculated. And I feel like if Hannah stays long enough, she could cause a lot of damage. But I just feel like in order to cause a lot of damage, she still needs to have these stronger connections that she's just not making. And she needs to get on that quickly because she could end up on the block as at least a pawn, if not a target, in the next week or two if she doesn't. But overall, the whole herd mentality that Derek X needs to go on the block again because of all of Frenchie's lies, and they all believe, even though he's lied to everybody and broke everybody's trust multiple times, they still want to put Derek X on the block. And this is why Survivor is by far the superior game to Big Brother. Somebody was talking about this on Twitter, and I could not agree more that nobody on this show ever thinks, oh, Claire was thinking about it, and Tiffany already knows this. She's just 2 steps ahead of everybody. That the person on the bottom is somebody you need to pull in his numbers. This happens on Survivor all the time, and is why there's always a flip in numbers. Sometimes the person on the bottom gets used as a number to make a big move in the game, and we just don't see this on Big Brother ever.